Hi guys, I'm back with some more Reddit questions and answers. Got my tablet, I got my snake Coridormi here, and she's going to be with me today. She's a little more easier to handle than Anachronos was, so we'll have that. Sorry about the bright spot behind me. It's just this is how this room is set up, and this is the only spot I have to sit. And the only spot I can set up a camera. So I'm sorry. I can't help it. So anyway, let's get into your Reddit questions. And the common theme that I've been seeing these last, this last week is people think about getting a Cornsnake. And that's good. It's good to think about it long before you get one. At least, 5 minutes. I'm joking. All jokes aside, no, think about getting any animal you get. Think about getting it for, months. At least a month. Like me, a year ago, I had one Cornsnake, and a year before that, I had no snakes at all. But I had been wanting to get a snake for most of my life, for almost 20 years now. Almost 20 years I've been wanting to get a pet snake, and I wanted it to be a Cornsnake. I actually like how they look. I know 20 years ago you didn't have the Tessera morph. The Tessera morph wasn't until 2006 where that really became a thing. Palmetto was 2008, I believe. So but I love Tesseras, and but even then I would have loved the regular morph on the Cornsnakes. So let's go ahead and jump into the question of just the common theme of people wondering whether or not you should get a Cornsnake, and wondering what it takes to take care of a Cornsnake. And the big thing I always recommend people, and you'll see this all the time on Reddit, is the 27 quart Sterilite gasket quartz, 27 quart Sterilite gasket boxes, which are those right there. They are amazing for keeping a young Cornsnake in. They do the best, honestly. I've never seen have not seen a better enclosure than that. The downsides is you can only use heat mats with them. You cannot modify them in any way to use a heat lamp. You have to use a heat mat or heat tape. And that kind of blows when your room, if your reptile room gets colder than 70 degrees. If it always stays above 70, you can use one heat mat. If it gets below 70, then you really need to use two heat mats to really give a better balance. I'm getting a lot of bad lighting effects going on to use balance. So you can definitely recommend the 27 quart gasket boxes. They are the best. They are the easiest thing to keep a Cornsnake secure in. So definitely stick with that. Coridormi is trying to bury into my armpit right now, which is super cute. She's super chill. You think that people say, oh, Cornsnakes are too active to really be nice to handle, and dude, it doesn't get better than this. She is just relaxed. That's a relaxed snake that's used to handling. Looking at getting her out several times a week, a few times a week, and making sure she has a nice relaxed time when she's out. So yeah, that seems to be the common question is where to get a Cornsnake. Unfortunately, I'm not breeding yet, so I can't give you any Cornsnakes. Next year I'll be breeding, but the best place to find a Cornsnake is going to be going to Morph Market and going into your if you want to buy locally, so you don't have to worry about shipping, because shipping does add $35 to $50 to the cost of a snake. Usually $50, just to be honest. It's usually $50. It's almost never $35. But yeah, if you so to avoid shipping costs, you can buy locally if you're not too picky on what you're looking for. But shipping Cornsnake, most breeders are very good at shipping Cornsnakes. I like to look at the Go Hoping videos that from Emerald Scales to check out like how the shipping, like how a shipping box should look. Does it need air holes? Does it not need air holes? I would say just be safe, yeah, but there's also signs saying no. But I think one of the largest reasons why you'd want to include air holes in a cardboard box is if you're using one of the heat packs. I think some of the heat packs rely on pull oxygen out of the air, and so if you don't have an air hole, you may asphyxiate your snake. That is something, a concern that was brought up, and I haven't heard anyone say any arguments against it. So, yeah, but shipping, normally breeders are very good at shipping. You also have your, but you can also go to Morph Market. You click on Cornsnakes on Morph Market, and then you click on Stores. That's at the top of the page after you click on the Cornsnakes. And then before you see the listing of the stores, you see store map, Morph map, and you can look at all the breeders in the country based upon where they're located. A lot of breeders may not put their exact city on their on Morph Market because sorry about that. I ran out of storage space on my computer. So yeah, go to Morph Market, look at your Morph map. Click on Cornsnakes, look at Morph map, and it shows you all the Cornsnake breeders in your area. Generally, breeders will have more stuff that they haven't sold yet that are not listed on Morph Market even. So and definitely if you're looking for a Cornsnake, ask the breeder to show you the snakes that are eating the best, because those are the snakes that are going to be the easiest to take care of. Coridormi was a great eater, and she is not giving me one problem. I think I have like 3 notes on her, about 3 or 4 notes on her on about her as a specimen, like her care and whatnot. Everything else is just like feed records, shed records, and recently I started keeping track of weight and weighing. So that's it. Shoot, this is an easy snake. But I have some Cornsnakes that are not. So just a common theme I see on Reddit recently is the people actually doing diligence and seeing if they actually about keeping a Cornsnake. Like I said, best enclosure is the 37 quart gasket box. You can go taller with the that I have my black rat snakes in, and but that uses the same lid and sold right next on the same shelf in most stores as the 37 quart gasket box and Sterilite. See, what are some other questions? Someone posted this cute little snake lantern, this little lantern decoration for their enclosure. Super cute. I love that. I love that. I love that. The problem with that though is you have a small hole there, and so as your snakes gets bigger, especially after feeding, they'll a bit more around in the belly, so like they can get stuck and potentially cause regurgitation if they can't back out because there's food in the way. So definitely something to look out for. I don't recommend. I always say, if you're gonna have a narrow gap like that, you want to make sure that you get that out of there before the snake gets too big. Coridormi, yes. So I thought that was really cool. You have a question about. See, looking over through again. We have a lot of questions like this last day about the getting into Cornsnakes, buying the first one. We have this question: what morph are these snakes? And probably not the greatest quality right there, but I would probably say those are probably, one's probably a snow and the other one's probably a red factor snow. But it's really hard to tell with this picture. That's what I would guess, and unfortunately that's the best I can do. And I first thought the question is, can someone tell me what the most of these snakes? And my first thought was no, I can't. My best bet is snow and red factor snow. we have a question from another user. He's asking about buying a hatchling secondhand from someone online, and what happened is the first person bought the snake and they realized they don't have time to take care of it, which could indicate that it's a problem snake, because hatchling corn snakes, even though they do require little bit more care than the older corn snakes, they do they are still pretty easy to manage. So it may not be a great eater, but I think his price, he was getting the Cornsnake and the setup and the equipment for it for $40, and honestly, just the equipment is worth $40. So even if the snake is sick and does die, I'm sorry, but even if the snake is sick and does die, you can. There's no loss to buying the snake and the equipment, and to the person who buys it. There's no loss. It comes with a 20 gallon tank. That's the enclosure, which worth $20 easy. I mean, I don't want to say that, buy it just for the equipment, but if you don't have any snakes, then there's no risk of that snake getting other snakes sick, and you just do the best husbandry you can, and hope the snake isn't sick, or if it is sick, it gets better with your care. So, definitely the cheapest way to get into corn snakes. I say there's no risk in it. If I was the one buying it when I have all these snakes, I would say no, because that's a chance of getting a snake that can get all my other snakes sick, and it's just not worth it. It's a lot more hassle to do a quarantine than to not have to do a quarantine. Let's see. I'm gonna answer a couple more questions. People who notice the snakes are being active after eating. After eating, and this is normal for the most part, especially unless you feed like a rather large male. She's going up my sleeve. Unless you feed a larger male that you really fills up the snake, it's going to explode afterwards. It could be a sign that you might be able to feed a little bit larger prey size. I wouldn't recommend going ahead and upping it to the next size up, but like the larger ones out of the bag, and after you get through with those larger ones, then maybe switch over to feeding take a day out of your feeding schedule. So like you're feeding a hatchling every 7 days, like if you're feeding a yearling every 7 days, but those fuzzies or those hoppers are starting to look small, then go ahead and switch it over to a 6-day cycle if the feeders are starting to look small. So it's still getting the needed calories. It's just in smaller packages and more frequently. So it does balance out. That's what I'm doing right now. I think this one might be ready for a small adult. But I still have on hoppers right now. I have about 25 more hoppers left to go, and I have about 6 snakes eating hoppers. No, about 7 snakes eating hoppers. So that bag of 25 hoppers isn't going to last much longer. So I'm already looking into buying my next bag of hoppers at the end of this week. See, let's get one more question in. I don't have any questions in for myself. Because it doesn't happen all the time. It's pretty rare for me to have any questions, because I do a lot of research and whatnot. Let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot about this one. Okay. So, man, I'm gonna get some flack on this one, because I have some strong opinions about this. So, a Reddit user wants to know if you can grow cannabis, wheat, also known as weed, pot, marijuana, inside of a bioactive enclosure. And my quick answer is no, you cannot. It is a lot of work, and you got to make sure that the animal's health is coming first before your own desires. And that's basically it. So let's talk about what it would actually take in order to do this. I kind of wanted to ignore this question when I first saw it because but it's a serious question. Like, what can you grow cool stuff in your bioactive enclosure? And the answer is usually no. First off, plants in a bioactive enclosure is going to grow really slow, mostly because you've got to turn the light off at night, so the snake gets a day and night cycle. The lighting is not going to be very good as if it was outside, or if you're using like grow lights. Grow lights, the heat needed for a cornsnake may be too hot for the plants, so that's tricky also. If I understand correctly, cannabis is a tall plant, like if you're in a field of cannabis, it's like 5 feet, like 8 feet tall, and there's really not, and so that's really not too much. Like the largest enclosures I could think of is like the China cabinet style enclosures, which are quite tall. You're looking at like ground, like from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. So you can get 8 feet in there, and you could possibly grow a couple of cannabis plants in there, but you'd be doing a lot of pruning, which I guess that wouldn't be a problem for cannabis. I don't think anyone minds pruning that. Anyone who's growing that, I know this is becoming legal in most states, so it's a question people ask. So my big concern is actually the health of the snake. So snakes don't do well with chemicals. Any small animal inside of an enclosure is not going to do well with chemicals inside that enclosure, no matter what the chemical is. You have to make sure it's very mild stuff, stuff that's not going to be very active. She's in my sleeve, like right there, up my short. So you have to make sure that that's not like really bad. You can't use fertilizers in an enclosure, so that's a downside. So it's just going to go extra slow. The plant itself may emit chemicals, which isn't it may emit chemicals, it may not. I've overheard anecdotal stories of someone drying marijuana on their roof, and then someone's neighbor was drying marijuana on the roof, and they were up on their balcony. They could see it, but they could also smell it, and they were getting a contact high off of it. This is one of those high school stories you hear kids tell in the locker room. Literally, it was in gym class when I overheard this story. So take it with a grain of salt. The poster said he knows it's cannabis, he knows it's safe, it's no harm to the snake. The only problem is trying to get the requirements for the plant and the snake in the same enclosure, which is probably maybe the only thing really stopping him. Even if there is a chemical, the plant's emitting chemicals, you would still have you would want a lot of ventilation in there to really make it more, to dilute it, so it's not just a box with that just slowly builds up chemicals over time. So I mean, those ways to do it. My experience in real life is you cannot convince a pothead. Sorry, that's the term I'm going to use. You cannot convince a pothead that you cannot do something with weed. They will find a way, and they will do whatever they can to make it happen. So you really can't. You really got the snake, and she's like on my back now. Nothing to stop them. So yeah, I would say just you really can't. That's just, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it if they want to do it. That's it. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is just observations and questions from Reddit, over the last few days. I'm not a vet. I'm just a guy who keeps a bunch of corn snakes and black rat snakes, and I do my best. And I love this little community we have on Reddit, and I love my snakes. And and I find these questions really fun to answer and like get you thinking and engaged. Good way to keep yourself entertained. But thanks for watching. I hope you've had a good time, and I am out. See ya.